these two boxes of Rallyman are jam-packed with possibilities, and it's my intention to highlight all of the interesting things you can do with them. This is Shakedown. In today's Shakedown, we go back to a classic to find out just how different rallying can be when you don't have any brakes. I can trace my interest and awareness of Rallyman back as far as the Rallyman GT Kickstarter in late 2018. But for many others, perhaps some of you watching this, Rallyman goes back another decade further. In the original game, which I'm yet to play or even see in person, players didn't have any brake dice, like at all. Gear dice were played in order, as we still do today, and that was pretty much that. It would be a couple of years until the double downshift rule came in with the Dirt expansion, where you could now skip gears when descending through them, allowing for a little more flexibility in dice placement, albeit at the risk of an instant loss of control. It's a simple enough rule to integrate into the modern Rallyman, so how differently does a rally car handle when you take away its brakes? How soon will I find the nearest tree? As I say, I've never played the original Rallyman, but I'm more than fortunate to have gotten the Co-Pilot expansion for Dirt, which contains the R5 Classic dashboard to allow us newcomers to experience the way things used to be done. Much of the dashboard will be familiar to us, and the bit that isn't is the double downshift. Put simply, whenever you would normally place a brake die with a gear die, now you don't place the brake die at all. Instead, if that gear die rolls a hazard, you lose control immediately. We can't skip multiple gears in a single space, from 5 to 2 for example, but we can use 2 double downshifts during our turn, so we could go from 5 to 3 in one space and then from 3 to 1 in the next. The best way to practice is to play double-handed, and the fastest way to do that is with an NPC. Again, one of Dr. Worm's, difficulty level 5, no driver traits. We're racing around Green Forest today, which you can find in the Rallyman Dirt Cross Gran Turismo on Board Game Geek. In Gran Turismo 2, where this circuit comes from, there was no car collision in rallying events. As much as I'd like to try that one out as well, this is a case of testing one thing at a time, so we'll have to use the slide spaces to make our double downshifting more efficient and block our opponent, assuming we can get in front of it. Neither car will be considered the leader, though I am interested in seeing how that would work as well, but again, that's one for another time. That should be everything, so let's get ready at the start line. Okay, the NPC has managed to get turn order, so we're going to be following it until there is an opportunity to overtake. It's going to roll everything, which is less than usual without the brake dice to roll. It has successfully navigated the course. It can coast through the hairpin in first gear and then power its way through into 5th gear, where it wants the inside line for the next corner, and it's going to end there in 5th. And I am going to do much the same to try and come alongside it. Go flat out, roll only one hazard on gear 5, so we have mirrored its move. The NPC is going first. Let's see what it does. It hasn't lost control, and it is able to double downshift into gear 3, which is probably the best way for this upcoming corner to be navigated, and that can put it out here in gear 5. And that again is probably our move. However, if we go flat out, we have to hope that the gear 3 die is not a hazard. Otherwise, our double downshift through the corner will fail and we will be in a spotted bother on the inside of this corner. I am, however, going to take the risk because all the dice are in my hand. And chucking them feels so satisfying. We have not lost control. 3 hazards would be the limit for the R5 Classic dashboard. The NPC coming up to a gear 2 hairpin. Has not lost control, but it came very close, and it doesn't have the best set of dice to work with. Let's see, it can't double downshift at all because its hazards are, well, it could go down to 1, I suppose, but that's probably not what it wants to do. So its best bet is to maybe end in 4 or clog up the corner. 3, 2, 1. That would make my life a little bit harder. So let's do that. Best way to learn to overcome an obstacle is to try and overcome the obstacle. And our NPC is currently the obstacle. Right, we are going to have to end our turn in gear 1. There's no point ending in higher gear because then we will just be blocked. So if I want to end in gear 1 there, then I will be in gear 2 there, gear 3 there, gear 4 there, gear 5 there. We can replace the 5 with a coast so that we don't roll as many hazards. We could replace the 3 with a coast and double downshift on the 2. I have lots of focus to play with, so I don't need to go flat out, but I feel confident having arranged those dice that there won't be many hazards. If there's a hazard on the 2, then my plans have changed drastically. No hazard on the 2, 1 hazard on a coast. NPCs in gear 1. What can it do? It hasn't lost control, and it's going to try and get as far around the course as it can. Now, it probably doesn't want to end there because of the low speed corner coming up. It could do something like this, and that would force us through the shortcut, which is risk. Even with fewer tokens in the damage bag, it is still a risk, but it will be a nuisance to us, so it will do that. It doesn't have to use all of the coast dice. It could have used the normal spaces. In fact, what it could have done was blocked the use of the shortcut entirely if it parked itself there. However, I have decided that it was going into the drift space, so it's going to be here in gear 3. That will force our hand as we try to go through the drift space. We are able to start with a couple of coasts. We can go up to first gear, into second, cut through in third. We don't want to end as high as 5th. We don't need to either because the NPC is in 3rd. I'm going to roll those 1 by 1 because we have lots of focus should things go wrong, like it has already. 2 hazards, 1 on the 1 and 1 on the coast. So I'm going to pay for gear 2. I'm going to pay for gear 3. That puts us into the shortcut where we pull a damage token, or a shortcut token rather. Our shortcut token is okay. And then I can pay for the 4 because I've built up quite a lot of focus through the shortcut, out the other side, into gear 4 and into a prime position to command this race. So we're into the next round. We have managed to overtake the NPC, but we will have to navigate this corner from 4th gear. Now we can potentially double downshift into gear 2. But then we won't really have the dice to get out the other side. Certainly not if we do that. So we will be here in third gear. That's the best that I can think to do. I'm going to roll one by one. The 4 was a hazard. If this 2 is a hazard, then it will be a failed double downshift. But I am going to take the risk. It was good. It was a 2. I'm going to roll the coasts. That's our second hazard. So I will chicken out and pay for the 3. That puts us into 2 coast 3. This space in third gear. And we have got an NPC right on our tail. It hasn't lost control, but it's quite a few hazards to work around. It can double downshift into gear 1. It would like the opportunity to overtake, so it can get up to gear 4 in the drift space and then try to overtake us on the way through that corner. It is good to double downshift into gear 2. It can then coast through the corner. It can overtake us in gear 3, and it can even get up to gear 5 and block the corner. Does it want to do that? If I was controlling an NPC against someone who isn't myself, I would definitely try to block the course. So I will have to block it here as well. I must be fair to how I would do things. And I would be that player who tries to block the course. So unfortunately, we are only going to be able to get up to gear 4. I can roll that flat out. It was a hazard. So we are in that space in gear 4. We do get a focus token for going flat out on one single die. And we are now behind the NPC again. It has not lost control. However, it has failed its double downshift from 5 to 3. So it has entered the outside lane space and immediately lost control. Serves it right for blocking me, I suppose. It is in gear 3 on a red corner. So from memory, it is taking 2 damage tokens. The first of which is -1 coast, and the second of which is -1 gear. So it has very much compromised its turns going forward. It spins off the track in gear 0. So we're going to capitalize on it going off track in order to power through this corner. I want to double downshift to gear 2, coast out, and come up to gear 3. Do I want to make the use of the jump? Yes, I think I do. So if we go over in 5th, it would put us here, and then we can coast into this space. I am going to go one by one because I don't want to risk any failures on the double downshift or the jump die. The coast is good. I'm going to pay for the 2 to be extra careful. 3 is a hazard. The 4 is good. The 5 will be paid for, and I will coast out successfully in gear 5. We are into the next turn already. I have to come down from gear 5 to gears 1 or 2. So I am going to have to make use of the slide space. I can stay in 5th, drop to 4, double downshift to 2, and then coast, and that will allow me to have a good setup for starting from 1 and then speeding our way through the next few corners. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I don't need to roll flat out because I think my lead is comfortable. The 5 is a hazard. The 4 is good. This 2 needs to be good, which it is. And the next coast is good. And the coast after it is also good. We have ended in this space before the hairpin in gear 2. The NPC is back on track in gear 0, but it has a lot of damage to navigate. So it can start in gear 1, and then it can use one of its coast over here. It can get up to gear 4, which won't be enough to put it over the jump. I think that's the best that it can do. Speed, distance, position for turn order priority. So the turn order is with the NPC in gear 4 for this upcoming turn. It will see what it can do. It hasn't lost control with its dice. So ideally, it wants to try and make my life difficult. It can get into gear 2 with a double downshift. It can coast around. No, it can't coast around the outside because I only have one coast. So I can't overtake myself unless I drop to gear 3, double downshift to 1, come out in 2, and then coast into the inside lane space in gear 2. So that will block the corner. I can't drift around the outside, and so my turn is wasted. All I do is turn my turn marker over to the other side. I thought I was far enough ahead to be in a comfortable position, but it has managed to find a way to overtake me and parked itself on the next corner in some style. So it is going to go first, and we have to try and find another way of overtaking it. It has not lost control, and it is in gear 2, so it wants to try to maintain as many gear dice as it can. So it can ignore those 2. It has 4 gears available to it. So it will come up here in 3rd, use the slide spaces in 4th and 5th in order to park in gear, this should be like that, and it should be in gear 5 on the drift space. And the best that we can do is try and match it. So let's work backwards. 5, 4, coast 3, 2. That's all we need to do. We can roll those flat out if we like, but I do want to make sure I keep up, so I'm not going to. 1 by 1, 2 is good, 3 is good, the coast is good, the 4 is good. I could have gone flat out. There was a hazard on the 5, but it still puts us into this space in 5th. New round. We are running out of opportunities to overtake. The NPC, however, has lost control. It has rolled a hazard on dice 2, 3, and 4. So at the end of this turn, it will lose control. Now, the rules for the NPCs say that you should assume it is trying to reach its maximum speed as normal. So we are going to try to do that. It can't double downshift into gear 3 and take the inside. So it will go on the outside in gear 4. It can't use both its coast dice because it is damaged. So the best it can do is keep sliding in gear 3. It wants to end its turn in a high gear, but that is the best that it can do. And then it loses control in gear 3 on an orange tile. So it is going to pull 1 more damage and crash out spectacularly, hopefully. It will certainly be off the track in gear 0. And it's a green flag, so no worse position for it in terms of pulling damage. But again, we have the opportunity to pull ahead and try to solidify an advantage. We are going to therefore be in gear 5. I would like to try to double downshift through the corner. I want to put as much distance as I can between me and the NPC. So that's the best that I can do. That will put me in gear 5 over here. I'm going to play it safe and roll 1 by 1. The double downshift can be paid for with a focus token. And then going to coast out, hazard on the 4, hazard on the 5. Well, that's below our hazard limit of 3. So we have successfully navigated the corner, unlike the NPC. We are into a new round. The NPC is back on track, but we are going first through a gear 4 corner. I could double downshift to 3, but I don't think I need to. Now, knowing that I was caught out by being in a low gear last time, I think the best thing I can do is roll that. That'll put me in gear 4. I don't want to be in gear 5 because then I won't be able to get to a low enough speed at all. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to hug the inside lane as best I can. Get some focus from flat out. That is 3 more focus and puts me on the inside lane. And hopefully I have done enough to retain turn order advantage against the NPC. It hasn't lost control again. It has 1 fewer gear than it would like, but it can go, it can go 1, 2, 3, 4 coast, and it can rejoin the race right next to us. Luckily, we do have turn advantage by being in the inside lane, so those crashes were only a minor setback. And the race to the finish is going to be a close one. We are going, therefore, to try and manage that advantage by using the drift spaces. Now I'm going to plan out that move, but I am quite comfortable with stopping here in gear 4 and blocking the road. That will probably be my plan. I'm going to pay for the double downshift on gear 2. The hazard is the hazard. The coasts are good. Gear 3 is good. Gear 4 is good. Do I want to make sure that the NPC is blocked? I don't think it can challenge me. I'm going to do that. I don't think it can get through the gears with its damage. There might have been a way for it to come up alongside and overtake, although with its coast damage it probably couldn't. So I think I'm safe. Now I am safer. So it's in gear 4. We are going to see whether it loses control. which it hasn't. It needs to double downshift into gear 2. It can only use one of its dice, so it can end either in gear 1 or in gear 2. For distance, it will come over here in gear 1, and I think it is looking like a win for us. As we come to the final few tiles, I'm going to play this safe, but if I can get over the finish line, I will. I can. So I would like to do that. And we are going to roll one by one. I have plenty of focus to pay for things. I've rolled one hazard on a coast. Second hazard on gear 3. It would cost us one focus to not roll the gear 4. And then whatever happens with the gear 5, we are over the finish line. It was a clean dice in the end. We have finished in gear 5. And we have beaten our NPC, which I forgot to move at the end of the last turn. We can see how far behind it was. It hasn't lost control. It's in gear 1. It wants to maximize its distance, but with damage, it can't really do that. It can only get to within a couple of spaces of the finish line. That was a look at the double downshift rules around Green Forest Roadway. We were probably lucky in the end that the NPC did crash, especially because it managed to overtake us again around here when we thought we were safe. So we have definitely learned things about Rallyman that we can take into the next game, where we probably have a good reason to up the difficulty of the NPCs. And I hope you can look into the classic rules to get rid of the break dice and see if you can navigate tracks without their use. Whatever you do, enjoy Rallyman, and I will catch you next time.